Well, it's September and a lot of states are opening up for deer hunting, but that doesn't mean your work in the woods is done, and it's never done really. In May, I started a May habitat and hunting chores to-do list for every month, and I'm going to continue that because there's something to do every month. Someone said, hey, my season opened here or there, and it's opening, and this is something that I shouldn't be doing now. Well, I can't tailor it for everybody's state opener and everything. It's just general. I apologize for that, but there's still something to be done. And the first thing that we're talking about today are water holes. End of August, early September. Last year we put a water hole out on one of the properties in Wisconsin, and we had incredible luck on that. In fact, all of our bucks visited that location. And we're walking into an area right now where I need two things. Water holes, whether you're filling them, installing them. This is the last time to do it. May is the official whitetail water hole month. That's when I like to put my water holes in, and that's when I really plan on filling them, cleaning them if they're old, installing them. But not to say you don't put them in this time of year, especially in some of your rut areas. That's what we did last year. That was a stand we didn't expect to hunt till the rut, and boy, were we rewarded. Opportunities for hunting. Rich shot his biggest buck out of that location. We had some awesome time. Diane, we had a real nice buck. I thought she might shoot, come by. We got to watch it. So this is a rut spot right here that we might plan on adding a water hole. We're gonna have a tree stand right down here, just about 30 yards from where we're at. We have another tree stand right there. And what I would do is that tree stands for temperatures that are falling. They're going downhill. Great spot for an evening setup. And then we have a morning setup right here where we can actually blow scent over the draw or back into the field. And it's an outstanding dual purpose area where we can hunt just about every wind. And so adding a water hole right in between those stands is doable. We could put it at, so it's about a 25-yard shot. Those stands are about 50 yards apart. There's a really nice bench system with a ridge that goes through there, or a bench with a nice deer trail. We'll be able to put that on there, and it's a great opportunity. Great opportunity in this spot that we don't have already. Because the trees are so tall, and we've been in here just with a side-by-side, not a ladder, I want to put a mock scrape here. You can see we're right out in the open. Open ground right here. We're not going back into some bedding area. This is a transition area. This is a movement, cruising area. I expect good movement. We're getting great movement evening and morning. What I'm going to do is I'm going to attach a line to that tree right up here. And I'm going to put it over to that branch that's coming out over here. And I'm going to hang a mock scrape on this flat, this slight bench right here. So something we can do very easy. It's going to be lines way up in the air. Deer's not going to smell our handprints up there. We're going to use a step ladder to get there side by side. We'll clean this area up. We'll get out of here and we'll let it soak for a couple months. Great activity to do in early September especially. Now, mock scrape, water hole, we're finalizing these and then we're getting out of here for a couple months probably. But also, trail cam checkup. We're making sure that some of these high value trail cam locations, I'm getting batteries in these in September, and with our Excess Lift cameras, what we expect is we expect to put batteries in this camera right here and in mid-September before the heat of the hunting season begins, and those batteries are going to last all the way in through April, March is what we're doing. Now we're watching a mock scrape that we'll add here. We're watching a trail crossing. This is not a camera on a food plot. Most of mine are not. Most of my cameras are in locations where I expect to kill deer. We have the stands right there, mock scrape, we can add a water hole over there. I expect to change this card when we hunt. I want this camera to take pictures every 5 minutes. I put on a 5-minute delay. When deer are coming through, they're hitting the mock scrape. We get a high percentage of bucks here because we're not out in the fields. We have does crossing through here, of course, and fawns too, small bucks. But this isn't a feeding area where we're getting thousands of pictures in a month. I expect 300-400 pictures at most over a 4-week period. We're not burning out our batteries that way, and that's generally how I set my cameras up, at hunting locations. We're not burning batteries. So we're checking this for the last time right now, and when we're in here next time, it might be on a rainy, windy day to check it, just see what kind of movement's here. I might consider putting a cell camera here because it's a very important camera location, and I want to make sure that when the bucks are really moving through here during shooting hours and during shooting light that we can get in here. We have a surprise buck that we're going to start talking about today. I was not sure if I'm going to talk about him or not, but his name's Venti. We picked that name. I picked 20. Dylan picked Venti. It's fancy, right, Dylan?
Oh yeah.
So Dylan helped with that name like he does a lot of them. If you could see our discussions on names sometimes, pretty funny. But that buck was Venti because he had 20 points, but we discovered he had 21 points. So he's kind of a big buck, but he's young. He's off limits to anybody on our crew anyways, except Diane. So you can bet I'm gonna try to set Diane up on him early. But bottom line, he's around here a lot. This is an important camera for several big shooter bucks that are in this area. And that's one of our chores for September, is making sure our cameras are on the go, ready to go, the batteries are changed, the card's ready to go, and then the mock scrape, water hole in here, and then we're getting out of here. And like I said, we might come in here when it's windy or rainy, but that's an important September deer chore that we're going to be taking care of right now. Hey, sorry to interrupt this video, but my web class series is finally begun. How to design your whitetail property is on my website, and there's a link in the description. Please check it out. Now another thing too, like I said, and this is a good location for this because we need to add stands. The trail cameras told us we need to do. That's what I've been sticking stands in areas I think I can kill bucks, and we have good winds for stands, and then we need to get those stands in. So that's something we're doing actually the end of August, first part of September. These are areas we can get. We don't have a lot of clearing here. That's why we're doing it, or we have stands that we already cleared out. We're just slapping stands in the tree and getting out of there. We have a stand over here. We have a stand right down here. Again, evening, morning stands. And so we're putting those in the tree. We don't have a lot of clearing, or we wouldn't be putting them in. And then we'll get out of here. So those are last minute stand locations. I put a lot of stands in September right before the season begins, just because we're gonna let them soak for a week or two, or 2 months in this case, and it's not a big deal. So I planned out a lot of stands where I'm not gonna sit in till the rut, make a lot of disturbance. I think there's about a 3 to 4 week window of forgiveness for deer. Most people don't get to experience that during the season because they're hammering the stands every weekend. But if you let them set for 3 or 4 weeks, I think things become back to normal. But how often do you do that during the season? We do that with a lot of our rut stands, and I plan those all out on a chart. I have all my stands in my head, where I'm planting, or when I'm putting them in, when I need to get them in. And these are some last minute stands that we can do so, and you might have some out there that you can take advantage of this September too. Now another thing, we've been out at our food plots, we've talked a lot about rye. September is rye food plot salvage month. It's a great time to actually apply rye. You have drought stricken plots, you have plots that are overbrowsed. I plan for layering rye. If you look up layering rye on Google, you can find articles that I've written years ago about laying rye. I've layered it for 15 years, even just 100 pounds of rye, 100 pounds of rye, 100 pounds of rye, where you have areas in locations where the food plots are not that browse resistant. September is an outstanding time to add your rye to your plots. Really look at your plots. There's no reason to take drought-stricken, overbrowsed, damaged food plots into the fall, especially when you can layer with rye. If you're in the upper Midwest, I look at layering 200 pounds of winter rye over your crops that you need to save or that you've planned for early September, and that translates into West Virginia, Arkansas, Tennessee. Down in some of those southern locations, you'll be adding rye more towards the end of September. And then look at 4 weeks after that, adding another 200 pounds of winter rye if you have 30 to 40% soil exposure. September is adding rye month. No reason to have a bad plot. Easy to do. Take advantage of it this year if you need to. Now, one thing that's a lot of fun this time of year is getting in shape for shooting and bow shooting. You know, it's one thing to consistently shoot every day during the off season, you know, every week, shoot a few arrows here and there, but really I want to make muscle memory as much as mental memory going into this fall, and that takes arrows upon arrows, shooting a lot of arrows. So I really like to work up getting in shape. If you're only in shape to shoot 20, 30 arrows at a time, you can't exceed that. Think about lowering your poundage, shooting more arrows, and then upping that poundage back. One critical test to see if you're overbowed or not, and we'll talk about this in the future in a balanced bow hunting setup, is if you can't, there's a lot of folks now shooting ultra heavy arrows, which is fine, but I'm hearing speeds of 220 feet a second, whatever, just some speeds that are really pulling back and hurting your ability in the woods or taking from your potential. But with one of those, a lot of people, because they're shooting such heavy arrows, they're starting to push draw weights up. They're in excess of what they should be hunting. It hasn't happened to me. I've had it almost happen, I will admit, but I've had friends where a big buck's come in November and December and they can't pull their bow back. Too many clothes, they're stiff, they're cold. And the big test is this time of year. When you're shooting your bow, of course, you're shooting enough arrows, you're getting in good muscle memory, you're trying to make good form, you're trying to repair your shots, make sure that you're actually shooting through your mistakes. But I want to be able to sit there in a chair or even standing, and if that deer is right down there at that angle, I want to be able to draw my bow straight back and shoot. If you can't do that, it's when it's warm Imagine what you're gonna have to do in the tree stand November 10th when it's 15 degrees, there's a 25-mile-an-hour wind, and you've been sitting there for 4 hours getting ultra chilly. If you have to go like this, push it up and push it down, that's a bad thing. Now you just spooked the deer that you're probably trying to shoot, and you're really gonna run into some problems when it gets later. I've even seen, it was a long time ago, the cameraman actually had to reach over and help the person that was in the stand pull back because they were having such a hard time pulling back. Obviously that person was overbowed, and you might even remember who I was talking about or when it happened. But it was on National Outdoor Channel TV. It was many years ago. Might even been in the video. But really pay attention to making sure you're not overbowed, making good shots, and you have a balanced setup. And in this September, is just, boy, you really need to hammer it out and carry that through in October, November. I'm always carrying a target in the back. I'll be carrying our morel targets around with me all the time. I'll always have one in the back of the pickup. In fact, when I've gone through a car wash or something, I've had to go get my targets out, put them in the back, because I don't want them damaged in some way by a high pressure wash if they would be flying out of the back or whatever would happen. But September's a great time for really pulling in your bow hunting and working very hard. Even if you haven't shot a lot up until this time, there's a lot you can do in a month to prepare and shooting every day. And I encourage you to shoot at least 5 days a week. And then finally, September, great time to stay off your land. We talk about making these last minute changes and then getting out of here. Talk about using cell cameras or cameras in locations where you can change a card easily and make sure that we can get in and out during a really rainy, wet period. And that's September. There's still a lot to do. Water holes, last minute stands, mock scrapes, checking on your trail cameras, maybe changing batteries, changing cards for that last time, making sure you shoot your bow a lot, get some rye in the food plots to save them. There's always something to do in the whitetail woods. September is no exception. Hope you have a great hunting season. And if you're preparing like this every single month, just getting these minimal amount of chores done, it's not like you have to do a huge amount of work each month, but boy, when it ramps up into August and September, there's still a lot to do. I hope you're on track this fall and enjoy this season. I can't wait to hear about your seasons. I know there's a lot of excited people on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, especially Instagram and YouTube. I'm on there the most. But I love hearing your stories and hearing about your hope and all your dreams for the big deer that you have planned for this fall. And hey, have a great September and a great October, and make sure you always remember there's always something to do in the whitetail woods each and every month.